The following announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus,
the new pod order.
BTT Plus.
Yeah, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Plus.
Oh, it's extra content right here, chicos. Think about it. BTT Plus, taking over the pod game. Live Q&As, watch-alongs, new shows. BT, is that okay,
Plus.
Big Tommy? Enter the war room, turnbuckle style.
Plus.
It's the new way. We call it BTT Plus. The genesis has begun. The beginning of the new pod or BTT. Everybody wants to know what to do next. Well, just scan the code. The pod revolution
Plus
starts now.
The preceding announcement has been paid for by Behind the Turnbuckle Plus, new pod order.
Oh, and we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back live. This is the last word, part of the Behind the Turnbuckle universe. I see Jason. I see user 279. I'm your boy, the coach. And first and foremost, we need to apologize. We've been off for a couple of weeks. But guess what? We're allowed to do that. We had some issues at home. We took care of them, and now we are back ready to head into 2025. And we are adding content. We're going to do so much more. So we're going to be here every single Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. As soon as we can make other announcements, we will do that. For those of you who are new, I am the coach, and I do this show with my good friend of over 25 years. Let's bring him in right now, Big Tommy C. You can follow him on the Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I apologize. I'm trying to make sure that we are running on Twitter, Tommy, and for some reason we're not, but that's okay. That's okay. First and foremost, happy holidays, buddy. I missed you. It's great to see you back.
Missed you too, brother. We get to see my baby bro here. We're back together, ready to go. And Coach, what a way to start the show. I'll let you handle this. What you just seen in the last segment there. Unbelievable.
Well, that's what it's all about. GSTC, I debated on watching Raw tonight, but I'd rather have Coach's take and Tommy's take. If you have any questions, try to put them into the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. Tommy, we're going to kind of change how we do things, too, here on BTT, because sometimes we just go and go and go and go. We're going to try to make ourselves better. What that means is figuring out what the 5 best topics are, going through them, and then trying to answer as many questions as we can. Are you cool with that?
I'm down with anything you want to do, baby bro.
All right, let's do it. So we got to start. And we're also, and I'm making this my own thing because, as you know, Tommy, my dad was in the hospital, and I had a lot of time to sit there and think about all the stuff that I do, all the things in my life. And I thought to myself, I've been way too negative this year when it comes to pro wrestling. And there's some things that we don't like, but we don't need to always start the shows with those. And what I just watched, that promo between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, that is as good as the wrestling business can get. When what we like to call shoot, when it's real, that's when it's the best. And I don't know about people watching in the chat right now, but Tommy, those two, more than anybody else that's going to be on the debut on Netflix next week, really set the tone. They in real life hate each other. And that right there, there are levels to this game, and those two proved right here and right now. I say it all the time. If you can't talk, you cannot get over. And those two just got over and got each other over. Your take?
I agree with you 100%, Coach. When you could bring the heat up more than what it was, and they're shooting big time, Triple H is going to take the ball, give it to you, and let you run with it because he knows they're two professionals. They know how to do it. And by the way, there was no BS in any one of those promos tonight, man. They're shooting below the belt. CM Punk coming out right away saying something about his wife. Well, where's your man? Where's the man? She left. Oh, I'm not allowed to leave. Like, it starts hitting levels like that really piss you off if you're Seth Rollins, and going back on CM Punk the same way. And that's how you create heat, folks. And that's how you want to say, damn, I can't wait to watch this match next Monday night on the debut on Netflix.
Jason
That's how
said
you do it.
It felt very unscripted. And
Oh,
the thing about it, Jay, is it probably here's what I'm guessing that they did. This is how it went down. You do not allow the writers to write that. There
mm-mm.
is not a 22-year-old snot-nosed kid that's going to be able to write what we just heard. What you do is say, "Hey, listen, guys, for the next week, last week, you write what you think you should say." Then they walk in, they individually meet with Triple H. He says, "You can say this, you can't say this," and then they go out and do it. People notice they went over, Tommy, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. That
Mhm.
means that they were just going. That means they did not time it out today in rehearsal. They didn't want to hear it beforehand. I've seen those maybe a handful of times in my lifetime. Who do you think cut the better promo?
I think Punk cut the better promo because he hit below the belt big time. And by the way, I've worked it. I've been a floor manager. You give him the Iggy, you give him the sign to wrap it up or go longer. They're not, these two guys are not even looking at you at this point in time, where they are in the relationship and how to put this match over. They're not even looking at the floor and saying, oh no, they're shooting, they're going to the end. You want to end the show, you end the show. And that's what they're doing. That's what they did tonight, coach.
If anybody is new to this and you're trying to figure out why was there so much venom, how because some guys are good actors, Tommy, but
Yeah.
it wasn't acting. That's why it was better than if you throw a couple of actors out there to do what they just did. To give it a little backstory, when CM Punk left the company the first time, everybody hated him. He turned on everybody. And you know what's funny, Tommy? Is they brought up Stone Cold Steve Austin walking out. He did it a couple of times. Do you know who the man was that one time that he walked out on? It,
You
you're damn right. He walked out on
missed
me.
a big payday.
Yeah, I missed a big payday because of that. I was supposed to wrestle Stone Cold Steve Austin on a pay per view. Stone Cold thought it was beneath him, and maybe it was, but that's not the point. This is the wrestling business. The storyline was good. He just didn't show up. And so
Mm-mm.
back then, we got bonuses for pay per views, and I probably would have made between $15,000 and $30,000, I would say. But the fact that they would bring it up tells you how many times he did it. And the fact that they said it was the biggest mistake that he made. Not everybody, Tommy, wants to be a second fiddle. Not everybody wants to stand there and say, you know what? I hate this guy, but let's do business. Vince McMahon used to teach us if it makes money, it makes sense. And that right there is money. Now, Tommy, I'm not as bullish on them giving away a WrestleMania next week.
Yeah.
But if you're going to wrap up the 30 some odd years on USA and there was a final segment that you want it to be, I don't know that I can think of a better segment than what we just saw with Seth Rollins and CM Punk.
Yeah, they ended the show perfectly. By the way, 32 years on USA Network. And I was thinking tonight watching this show, I was there for more than half of them, and so were you. It's amazing to think the longevity they had on the USA Network and us actually working it live. Not many people can say that, but me and you can say that, coach, besides Cole and a lot of older old timers that are still there, cameramen and everything like that. So to end the 32 years with the heat these two guys created tonight, that's how you end it on USA Network, folks. That's how
Damn
you
right.
do it.
Shout out to Maria. She says, I love this show. Maria, we love you for being here. Tell all your friends because we are expanding in 2025. I was counting it up, Tommy. And my first run, I was there for 10 years. And that's 52 Mondays a year. So I was there for over 500 Raws during my first run. Then the second run was like a year or two. So I would say I was there for almost 600 of the
Mm.
1,600 Raws that have existed. But now we're going to move forward to next week. And I don't know if you noticed, Tommy, but Raw's going to be on Netflix next Monday. If you hadn't noticed. And I wrote down part of what they have sold all night tonight. And I almost felt like some of the matches were a placeholder in between all the promos for Netflix. Did
Yeah.
you feel the same way?
Yeah, every other and I like them going back and telling some stories about, I mean, we don't realize how long Liv and Rhea have been going at it. It's been since SummerSlam and even before that. And I like that little package they put in to tell to let everybody know where they are and where they're at and where they're going because they're going at it next Monday on Netflix. So I like telling. We're all about telling stories. They don't do that enough, but they're rehashing. This is why we're having this match at Netflix, and I like telling stories like that. Every other promo was Netflix Live next week, and ticket sales. By the way, I don't know where they are on tickets, but I'm sure it's going to be a good house. But everything was tickets, and everything was promoted to Netflix. Watch it next week on Netflix. That's all I saw. You're absolutely right. They just threw a show in between all those promos, Coach.
Tommy, I got to do our own promo. You got to let me get to a promo. We are giving away a brand new copy of Undisputed. You guys see it on the screen right there as Tommy was giving his take. If you want to play, whether it's on Xbox or on PlayStation 5, the directions are on the screen. We'll give them away next week or the week after. Producer Man is in charge of all of that. Tommy, there was, and this was I again, I don't want to be negative, but the women's division, and I don't know if you saw that this week, and I don't believe it for a second, but somebody leaked out with the Royal Rumble match and I don't know
Yeah.
if you saw this 1 through 3.
Yes.
I don't think it was real, but
No.
what is real is Becky coming back, and Charlotte is not far behind her. And so to have the Intercontinental title match, to have the different women's matches out there, I feel like they've never been more lost except for Rhea and Liv. And I know you like the package, but Tommy, Rhea's voice drives me insane. It just does. It
Yeah.
just does. And I'm not
Mhm.
making fun of her accent or whatever, but when she tries to go into promo voice, oh,
Mm.
it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
And to me, I would rather just have the announcers as the filler for with the music and all that kind of stuff. But that's just me.
Yeah.
And I know she's over like Grover. So does
Yeah.
it bother you at all?
It annoys the hell out of me, Coach. The way, because you know what? Live is complete opposite. Live is the kind of promo I like to have superstars cut. Not in my face all the time, not screaming all the time. And when you hear Rhea go to that next level in her voice, it is annoying. Like nails, you're right, nails on a chalkboard. And then you could just be like Liv and just cut the promo the way you know how to cut a promo. You don't have to scream and be on my face. You could say the same thing, but not at 20 octaves higher, and you have a screechy voice. That makes it even worse. Terrible. I hate it.
So while you were talking, producer man who runs our show and our brands, all three of our brands, by the way, he said we're going to give away Undisputed live on the show tonight. So when I get the winners, you guys see there on the screen, we will give them away live and we will get them out to you. They are codes, by the way. So Tommy, Rhea and Liv are part of next week. You've got the tribal combat, they're calling it. You've now got Drew and Jay Uso. You've
Yep.
got Rhea Liv, you got
Yep.
Cena and Rock, and then you got CM Punk, and you got Seth Rollins. So my question is, Tommy, what are they going to do for WrestleMania? My God, this is better than either one of the nights last April. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, and that's my point. Where do you go from here if you're watching the debut on Netflix and you got like a double pay-per-view here on every match is a banger and it makes you want to watch it. So what do you do the second week when you when you got Chad Gable going against Carlito? I mean, I'm just
Oh,
throwing it out there, folks.
dude, that's so funny. That is so funny. You just said it. Now, I did think that Chad and Otis had a good match tonight,
Yeah,
but it was filler. And I see a
yeah,
couple people in the chat. They're like, it didn't feel as big. Well, that was on purpose. You can't
yes.
have two bangers. You can't
Mm-mm.
lead with a banger and start with a banger. So, Tom, and also a lot of people in the chat are talking about the fact that they've decided that both Raw and Netflix is going to be 3 hours. They're going to add commercials into it. I hope it's like that side by side type where um, they don't just go away for commercials, because to me that
Yeah,
would defeat
it's
what
true.
Netflix is. But then
Mm.
SmackDown is going to be 3 hours on Friday on USA. And I'm like, wait a second. We already don't have enough talent for a 2 hour show on Fridays. Why are we doing three unless USA just said, hey, it's way better than anything else we could put on a Friday night and just paid more?
You know what? I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking, why? I mean, we were in a good spot. We had Raw 2 hours, and by the way, that the difference between 2 hours and 3 hours is huge. I noticed that Raw just flies by now, and we're getting ready to do this show. In other words, we'd be waiting another hour just to do this show, right? But it just flies by now. So we were in a good spot. SmackDown 2 hours, Raw 2 hours, and then they come out SmackDown 3 hours. Is it USA asking for this? Because and you're right, there's probably nothing good enough for people to watch and say for that 10 to 11 hour, we might as well keep it on WWE. Nobody's gonna outrate us at all. People are still gonna watch, but when you have 2 and 3 segment matches, it just drives you crazy. And you're right, there's not enough superstars to go around to make this 3-hour show. And then if Netflix is 3 hours also, which I don't know if true or not, wow, that's a lot of heat on the writers and the talent relations and everything else.
GST says, I wonder who's coming out next week is Doink the Clown. It's going to be something. Our man, Steve Lombardi. Tommy, tonight was a perfect example of what we're talking about. And sometimes less is more. Vince never subscribed to that notion, however. And I understand money dictates everything. If you're going to pay $500 million, damn it, they're going to let you do whatever you want. If USA's
Mhm.
been loyal, WWE is loyal. But tonight we had Chad Gable and Otis was a multi-segment match. The girls were a multi-segment match. And to me, if you do when during my first run, I can't. I mean, I'm sure it happened, but rarely, Tommy, did we have multi-segment matches because we had 25 guys and ladies that could be main eventing any Monday night. So if it was the main event, it was come out, cut a promo at the top of the show. You did not see Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, DX. You didn't see any of them until the final segment. Now we have 3 segments backstage. So that's not going to change. That's only going to get
No,
worse. That's
no,
only going to get
no.
worse. So this excitement that everybody's feeling, this hiding behind the Netflix deal and the $5 billion, and they've done a phenomenal job of promoting this thing. The superstars have been on football pregame shows.
Oh,
They
yeah,
were all over Christmas Day. One thing they do is promote. And
yeah,
you're going to be seeing me, Tommy. I've got 2 new gigs starting. I know how to promote because I learned from the best. But
yep,
Tommy, when you promote so much and now you have nowhere to go, and now when you've got multiple segment matches and then you got SmackDown, and to me, the talent on SmackDown is far less than what Raw should be. To
yeah,
me, I think they're really setting themselves up for a disappointing WrestleMania and the decision to make at least 4 pay-per-views a year, 2
mhm.
nights. I know it's a lot of money, but Tommy, when does the money stop and giving the fans a really exciting show begin?
I have no idea. Look, not one storyline advanced tonight. It was all leading to Netflix on Raw and what we're gonna have. They had a segment with R-Truth and Butch Dunn. I mean, you're gonna do that the second week? I'm serious. Are you gonna do that the second week on Netflix? It's like everybody's talking about the grand thing on next Monday night. Is anybody in that writer's room saying, "Hey guys, what are we doing the second week?" Is
Tommy,
anybody
you need to stop it right now.
I'm
I got a
sorry, I'm
picture from
sorry.
your wife earlier, and it was you going, "What's up? What's up?" You did that R2 thing in the living room. We know you do that.
Oh, yeah,
Come
all the
on,
time.
you
No,
got R2 like that.
I'd rather be Butch Dunn or Pete Dunn with the mouthpiece in my mouth than having no clue where I'm going. I don't know.
A couple of things in the chat eventually becomes quantity over quality. Raphael, our numbers guy, he's a part of the crew. They're following NASCAR in the early 2000s. Coach, also the stars aren't there every week now. So what fills 3 hours when Roman is gone for however long? That's actually something, Tommy, I've always been an advocate of because it's not healthy for your mental. Because I did it, you did it. When
Mhm.
you never have a week off, and think about this,
No.
everybody watching right now. When we had WrestleMania, there was a party that would start after WrestleMania. The guys who made WrestleMania was it what it is were in the main event.
Right.
They couldn't even get to the party till 3 a.m.
That's
And
right.
then you have Raw the next night. There's never a chance to enjoy it. When the Chiefs won the Super Bowl last year, oh, and the year before, oh, and 3 years. So they got to celebrate it, Tommy. You remember what that's like 25 years ago. I'm
Yeah,
like, did?
that's right. With my Giants, I remember that,
But there's
yeah.
never there's never a chance for the wrestlers to enjoy it, the people who work for the company to enjoy it, and for us the fans to miss it. So to the person in the chat, I can't remember who wrote it, we don't get a chance to step away, go and do something else, and then come back for a season premiere. So when they do a season premiere, it's a joke. It's not going to change, Tommy, because it's too much
Yeah,
money, but I sure
yeah.
wish that it would, because I think it would really help.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, let's face it, it's all about the mighty dollar, right? I mean, that's
Hmm.
what it's all about. And you're right. We never got to celebrate the thing, the party. It was always the corporate people. You know why? Because we had to drive to the next city the next day to make it for Raw. That's why. So if you stood at
Hmm.
the party, you're never gonna make it. But that's the way the world goes around now, and it's all about money. But it just gets so saturated, like you're throwing all your eggs in one basket at this one big night, man. And I just hope, man, I would like to here's my question.
Yep.
I would like the number of new streamers coming on just because of Netflix on Raw. Can they determine that somehow? Like people I mean, you gotta live under a rock if you don't have if
Well,
you don't have
they can tell how many people watch because the
Yes.
numbers for the NFL games were staggering. It's like
Yeah, I know.
25 million. So they can. But I think the hard thing, unless you're going to have them use a code when they sign up, is how many are actually signing up for Monday Night Raw and not just signing up for Netflix. That
Yes.
that
Yep.
that's what I don't know, but I know that they're hoping that the numbers are there. And then also, Tommy, this isn't just about investing in Monday Night Raw. This is about investing in live events moving forward.
Yes.
That's where the money is. Whether you're talking
Mhm.
about ESPN, Fox, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, live events, because guess what, Tommy? You do not tape a football game. You don't
Mm-mm.
tape Monday Night Raw because of this right here. You can find out real quick on social media what happened, who did what,
Yeah.
and that is something that you don't want to do. So I don't know. I applaud Netflix for doing it. I just think they've hid behind the money. And tonight was the first night that I felt like they were doing storylines. But sometimes when you do too much, but you know who I thought didn't do too much tonight? And I want to put over like $1 million. And I got to dance with them, Tommy, at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. Your boy, the New Day. I've
Oh, there
never seen in my career, have you, Tommy, where guys were so over for a decade. It would have been
yeah.
like John Cena trying to go heel. And now this crowd, the venom that they
Yeah.
have for those two guys is like something I've never seen.
And they carry it off, coach. These guys
Hmm.
know how to do it. Look at the show tonight, right? It ended with 2 great professionals, Punk and, Rollins doing their thing in the ring, and for the past 3 weeks, you have watched New Day percolate into this heel persona, which they've been baby faces for years, and by the way, that's not hard to do. It's not easy to do, is to just change your whole persona when you got the crowd on you for 10 straight years and they don't even let you talk anymore. These guys, they nailed it. And you know what? They're going to get better at it because Kofi is going to be a hell of a heel. And I called that a while back.
Yeah, you
Kofi
did.
is going to be a great heel. And I'm just interested to see where this goes and how they bring Big E back in the mix because you know he has to come back in the mix somehow, some way. But it makes you say, man, Dom even shit on him. Dom hammered him, right? I mean, one of the biggest heels we have right now, Dom said, "Hey, man, this ain't right." And I love the stuff. The interaction between them and Rey Mysterio is second to none, coach.
It's fantastic. It
Yeah.
really is. And they even took it over to social media. I saw a couple of days ago. There, what makes it so good and why the crowd hates them is, and this is something that, and for those people who are new to us, we talk about Vince McMahon because he was part of the business. We don't talk about security or wow. We just talk about Vince. That's I almost have to feel like we have to do a disclaimer every show.
Yeah.
But what he taught was the more real you make something, the better it is. So when they started telling Big E, we don't need you anymore. You walked out. Your girlfriend's more important than your boys. And then I saw on social media they said something about running home to your girlfriend. When you do that, don't forget to pick up your newest piece of Coach and Carlucci merchandise at Millions. I'm gonna give away. I think I'm gonna give away a free shirt to the first person that buys the Tommy Carlucci sweatshirt and sends me a picture. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I just decided. I just decided. So I just lost my train of thought, Tommy.
No, you're talking about New Day.
Oh, you know. So when you make things real and you go after personal stuff and it's not made up, that's why Seth and CM Punk was so good. And I guarantee, I mean, Big E had to sign off on it, but
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he loved it because he misses being in the mix. But here's the problem, Tommy, and this is something that Vince and the agents told me when I decided to become a character and not just an announcer. I had to be willing to get my ass kicked. And right
Mm,
now, Big E can't get his ass kicked. So there's
mm.
only so far they could go with him. So they're doing a great job of now going after other people on the show that they can fight with. And I think that's a pretty smart move by Triple H and the creative team.
It is a smart move, but, like, you want the payoff to happen with Big E in the ring, and that's not gonna happen. So, like, where does it go with Big E and the boys right now with Kofi and X-Man? Like, there's gotta be a payoff where Big E kinda one-ups them a little. So does he go to NXT and bring up a guy like Trick Williams? Is this the time for Trick to come up to the main roster? And by the way, pairing him with Big E is not such a bad idea to get back at his boys that he knew for 10 years, who've all of a sudden turned on them. That would be a very interesting storyline, coach. I'm not hearing.
Storyline,
Oh,
Tommy,
yeah. Oh.
and to really tell Trick, because it's kind of like when I went from high school basketball to college basketball. Even if you don't go to Division One, it's still a huge step up. So for all of these NXT superstars that everybody says are ready to take the big time, well, it's a lot different when you're traveling every Monday night. It's a lot different when you're doing promos and you're doing all the stuff on the side. And then you still, it's a very different than doing NXT when you're in the same building every week and you only travel a little bit. But there are
Mm.
some guys that after next Monday, you've got to start fitting them in, Tommy, because we cannot have 6 hours of wrestling. And by the way, Vince Russo had an incredible promo today on 6 hours because he wrote Raw back in the day.
Yeah.
He was the guy. And,
Mhm.
and Tommy, this is going to be an ongoing storyline. And I wonder if when they feel like it's too much, do you think they could ever go backwards but not change the money? Perhaps. Do you think that anybody would ever, the USA
Wow.
or Netflix? I say no. I say no to
No,
that.
I agree. No, I don't think that's happening. And WWE don't want to give away money. Say, oh, we can't do this. We can lower our license fee now, or we're in year 3 or whatever. That ain't happening, dude. That's
Let's give 100 million back.
yeah. That's not happening. That's not happening at all.
Shout out to Rich. I'm taking out for the night, guys. I would love to interact with you guys from LA next Monday night. Raw's heated up for the next Flip debut. Hey, Kayla, welcome to the show. Tommy, I'm a little surprised. Somebody in the chat said they checked and there's still over 1,300 tickets available for next week. That shocks me. That shocks
Mm,
me
mm,
because, but also tells me tickets are too expensive.
yeah.
You know, that should be a sellout like that. This is a Mania card. Rock is advertised to be there. Cena's advertised to be there, and you're not sold out in
What
Los
more?
Angeles.
What more do you want?
I don't know.
What's gonna make convince you to go see this show live if you're living in LA? What more can they give you? There's nothing more.
It
Nothing
is
more.
well. This is the first example, Tommy, of what you and I have been talking about. They were very open about increasing the price of tickets
Yeah.
and going to. And if you can't sell out this show, what are you going to do in Des Moines, Iowa, in March? I mean, what are we talking about here? What are we
Yeah.
talking about here?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
What else helps it out is that dumb transfer portal. I'll call it portal for lack of a better word, which we said kill this whole branding thing for years and dump the dumb draft. Because right, if you're having 2 shows, because it's never been both shows have been 3 hours apiece. You're having both shows and you're still having the brand split. What are you thinking? That just doesn't make sense at all. at all.
Did you notice, Tommy? I can't remember which show you and I talked about. Maybe it was even offline, but they put out the Raw Netflix promo. And remember, Triple H had it at the meet and greet in Stanford a couple of weeks ago. Rick says, "Coach is back. Welcome back, Coach." Thank you, Rick. I miss being here very, very much. But Tommy, when I watched it, I texted you and I said, "Wait a second. The first 3 shots of guys on there, because we're taught that there's a brand split, was Cody, Roman. It was guys that weren't even on Raw. Did you see Drew McIntyre and the promo he said down on his IG? And he goes, "Let's watch the promo together
Mm,
of Raw on Netflix." And they show Cody Rhodes. He goes, "Oh, not even on the show." Then they go and he goes, "Oh." I mean, he literally said the exact same things that we have been saying. Either do it or you don't. We
yeah,
all and everybody in
yep,
the chat wishes that they don't. We don't need
yep.
a brand split. Come
Nope,
on, we
not at
don't need a
all.
brand split.
Hey,
But they're gonna
coach,
keep it.
before we move on, I want to say a big shout out to Carlos Herrera. He's on the chat right now. I
Our
saw
Carlos.
him. Listen to this. I saw him
Okay.
2 weeks ago at ShopRite, and we're at the deli counter. He goes, "Hey," and I didn't know who it was at first. He goes, "Hey, Tommy, I love you and Coach on Behind the Turnbuckle." I'm like, "Wow, thank you very." He goes, "I watch every Monday." Blah blah blah. We're talking, right? So he leaves, and I leave, and I said to my wife, I said, "Somebody just noticed us and said, hey." She goes, "You're so full of crap." And you know how Michelle is,
Oh,
full
of
of shit,
course.
right? I see the guy walking in the aisle, right, Coach? I said, "Hey, Carlos, do you watch Behind the Turnbuckle?" He said, "Yes, I won't miss it. You guys speak the truth about everything." And there you go, Coach. Shut my wife right up. I just want to say a big shout out to Carlos and everybody else who's in on the chat tonight.
Tommy, I'm shocked. Hell just froze over. You called out somebody in the damn chat. You actually are looking at the chat.
Yes, I am.
Kudos. I thought
Yep.
that was and I know his last name. I'm embarrassed to say because we worked with you. You were his boss. Who was the Spanish announce? I thought that was Carlos Herrera.
Oh, Carlos Cabrera.
Carlos Cabrera.
Yeah,
Damn,
yeah.
Carlos
He's in
Cabrera.
AEW
Close.
now.
It's
He's
close.
he's
By
all
by the
elite.
way, by the way, Tommy, your wife is going to be our secret weapon. People think that we're entertaining. We're going to get your wife on this show, and we won't be able to shut her up. We will not be able to get her
That
off the show.
yeah, that might be whew. Yeah,
You guys have no idea. 36 years
yeah.
in the
And
WWE.
she
Incredible,
started working
incredible,
for Bruce
incredible.
Pritchard, Brother Love.
Brother Love. Brother
Yeah,
Love.
Brother
Uh,
Love.
a couple other things we're going to get the hell
Yep.
out of Dodge. Do not forget, if you are new to our brand, we drop a 10-minute episode of one topic every Friday. And coming up next week, I don't know the day, but Tommy, in honor of the new year, in honor of Gabriel Iglesias' fluffy special live from Miami on January 7th, we will have a very special episode. I went to his museum, his car museum,
Oh,
um, and I spent 3 hours with him a couple of weeks ago. And for everybody at home, I want you to tell all your friends, subscribe to our channel. We're going to be putting out 2 or 3-parter. Tommy, it was like nothing I've ever seen. He's been so gracious, a gigantic wrestling fan, and I can't wait for everybody to see once Producer Man gets done editing. But it was amazing. I can't wait for you to see it. I really,
yeah.
really can't.
By the way, one hell of a nice guy too. So down to
Oh,
earth, man. He worked for everything he got, and he deserves everything he gets. And he really, I mean, he really dug you, man. I mean, you guys really hit it off big time. And I can't wait to watch that episode, man, because he's a really straight shooter, level-headed, and really good, and a really nice guy.
yeah, he's awesome. And he's got some big stuff coming up. I promised I wouldn't say anything, so I will not. But I'm really, really excited for what is to come. I thought we would wrap things up tonight, Tommy, because as I was watching Raw live from Houston, and user says, "Does Coach have a Houston story for us?" Well, it's coming right now. I've got 2 Houston stories, Tommy, and neither one of them are good, but they're
Yeah.
memorable.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we talk about when, after just, the holidays I just spent, they weren't great, but they were with family.
Mhm.
And, my dad had a heart transplant 6 years ago. He's had major issues this week, but he's still alive. We got 6 extra years. Well, that was not the case We were in so in my I'll go in reverse order. So 6 years ago, when I started back with or seven with WWE, we had a pay per view in Houston the day that Kobe Bryant was in the helicopter crash and died. And I remember we got to it was the baseball stadium, not the arena, and it was circulating that he had passed. And he's one of those athletes that
Mm.
just is above and beyond a normal athlete. And I remember I got incredibly emotional that day, and we all did. And then I think he's the one athlete, Tommy, you tell me if you feel this way, that people still talk about him as if he were here. And you see
Mm.
him, I think it's because of social media, you see videos all the time. But we were in that town the day that he died. I will never forget that. What about you?
Yeah, I'll never forget that either, man. Such a you know what? This guy you want to start a team off, you want Kobe Bryant on your team because you know why? He'd rip your heart out, dude. He'd rip
Hmm.
your heart out. He would want to win so bad, you really are. But a a straight shooter, level-headed, knew how to play the game, smart as hell. He spoke like 5 different languages. And I remember nobody could believe that this really happened to him with the helicopter. And it's like it was more than a family member in your family. Like when we all saw it, was like, come on, that TMZ's telling a lie. It's not true. And
Hmm.
the man had left such a mark here in the NBA, but not only in the NBA, but in life. He taught life lessons to everybody. And by the way, worked at his craft every day, didn't stop taking a day off. I'm going to shoot for an hour, 2 hours before game or whatever. Worked at his craft every day. That's why he was the best.
I say he has that's the difference between him and LeBron James, as great as LeBron is. LeBron doesn't have that killer instinct.
Mm,
Kobe was as
mm,
close to Michael as there's ever been a player. And when I think about all the places that I've been, his helicopter. So I flew back in to Orange County this morning, Tommy, today. And his
wow.
helicopter, that's the airport that it always took off from, and I would see it all the time. He was always there, and he would use it because they had to fly around the mountain to get to the school, and it was just a lot faster to take the helicopter than it was to drive. And unfortunately, that day there was a lot of fog, and
Mm,
it was just a really really sad day. The other Houston story I have, and Tommy, my mother brought this up because I spent a lot of time with my mom the last 8 days or 9 days, and she has early onset Alzheimer's, so we try to do a lot of things that spark her mind and make her remember things. And something came up somehow about 9/11, and she
mm,
goes, "Do you remember that day?" And I said, "Yeah, Mom, I remember that day because I didn't have my cell phone because I had left it in San Antonio the night before at Monday Night Raw." And back then, Raw and SmackDown were Monday, Tuesday.
that's
So,
right.
Tommy, we drove from San Antonio to Houston, and we were in Houston the morning of 9/11. I sat in my hotel room at the Hilton, Highway 59 in Houston, Texas, watching the second plane hit live on Good Morning America or the Today Show. And I remember because a lot of our family members didn't know what days we flew in and out, but New York was our home airports. And so by the time I got my cell phone back, and they were not cell phones like we have today. These were like,
Mm-mm.
the big ones. And um, I had complete full voicemail, and it was like panicked family members. Why aren't you calling us back? Were you on one of
Mm.
the? And I had to put myself. So me and my mom talked about that 2 days ago, and
Wow.
we spent the entire week. I'll never forget that Lillian Garcia, as much as listening to her sing the national anthem over and over and over again, that Thursday, because we canceled the show and we did it live Thursday, and we all walked out onto the stage and she sang It Wasn't a Dry Eye in the House. I was
Mm.
incredibly emotional. I still get emotional thinking about it. And we spent that whole week, Tommy, and it was just it's an image and a week that I'll never forget ever, ever.
Yeah, it's marked in in your heart and in your memory for life. You knew where you were the day that that happened, and Mr. McMahon decided to go on with the show, and I think that was one of the best things. Best, a lot of people didn't like the decision. I thought you got to move on as America, bring a little light to something that was so dark that hit home with everybody. and he did it, and I thought it was a big success. It was hard for the superstars. It was hard for the crew. It was hard for everybody working it, but they did it, and it ended up being a success.
They were the first, or we were the first live show back in the United States after that happened on Thursday. So it was 2 days down because they moved the NFL games. They because
Mhm.
it was the beginning of September, and they moved a lot of things. We were the very first show. So I don't want to end the show on a sad note. So I'll tell you a funny thing that happened that week, Tommy. So, and I'm not going to name names, but I'll tell the story. So our hotel on Highway 59. If you guys want to look it up, if I'm lying, I'm crying. And there was an empty parking lot, and then right next to the empty parking lot was the Colorado Strip Club. Okay, so after 8 hours of watching um, all that stuff on TV, we wanted a release in more ways than one. And so a bunch of us went over. And Tommy, you remember part of my role on the road back then was to set up the party, make sure that if we entered an establishment, no matter what it was, we left it in one piece. And if anybody needed to handle anything, I would handle it. So
Mhm.
I'm sitting there with Mr. Four Horsemen, Arn
Yeah.
Anderson, or should I say Mr. Four Horsemen for it. And we're just chilling, we're having a good time and not really doing much. And if anybody is watching right now and you've ever been to a gentleman's club, then you know that a young lady is not going to sit with you for an extended period of time for free. Okay? And how many times have you heard of, I thought she liked me?
Yeah.
And so there were three young PAs that were across the room. And I remember turning to Arn and going, they have six young ladies that have been sitting there for an extended period of time. And Arn said, wow, do they make a lot of money? I said, no, they do not make a lot of money. And a PA at WWE might be 25, 28 grand, something like that. Um, so after a couple of hours, the manager of the Colorado Gentlemen's Club comes over, taps me on the shoulder, says, hey, can I talk to you? I got up and I said, this better be good. Because I mean, I had a couple of cocktails. I was having a good time. He goes, we have an issue. I said, I don't have an issue. And he goes, we've got an issue with your three guys over there. And I said, what did they do now? And these guys are like 22, 23 years
Yeah.
old. First time ever in a gentleman's club, by the way. And they said, well, the six ladies have been sitting there for over 2 hours. It's $20 a song. That's $120 a song for over 2 hours. And songs are like 3 minutes. So that's 20 songs an hour. You start to do the math. You see where I'm going with this. And they also were buying them drinks because at a normal bar, Tommy, you buy somebody a beer, it's $6 or
Mm.
$7 or whatever it is. Not at those places. You're talking
Mm-mm.
60, 70, 80, $100. So the ladies were like, "Do you want to buy me a drink?" Yeah, we'll buy you a drink. How about the big? Yeah, let's buy you the big one. Tommy, how much do you think the tab was at that moment that they had racked up that the ladies had not told them about for over 2 hours? Take a wild guess.
10, 15 grand maybe? I'm going big time there. I know I think
$8,200
yeah,
for three dudes that did make over 25 grand
that's
each.
right.
$8,000. So I walked over there, Tommy, and I looked at one of them. I said, what in the world are you doing? Well, I thought they liked us. Like that classic line. I thought they liked us. I said,
Oh my
for
god.
2 hours in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
packed joint, and you thought these six liked you clowns? Are you kidding me right now? You cannot be that stupid. So I turned to the manager. I listen. These three idiots are at fault. But the ladies are kind of at fault too.
Yeah.
Because when you're going on, at some point you got to say, "Hey guys, we're at 1,000, or we're at 2,000, we're at 3,000." They never said any of that. So one had a credit card he had just gotten with a $5,000 limit. I remember this like it was yesterday, Tommy. And I said to them, I said, "Listen, what if we do this?" I said, "We'll max out his card, the 5 grand. They leave, and you call it good with the three ladies, split that 5 grand up, and these 3 are never allowed to walk back in here again because I know how to handle business.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, that's like 3,200 off. I said, listen, they could just walk out and you'll never see them again. I said, but, and so he ultimately agreed to it. And about 3 weeks later, we were at a bar and 2 of the kids got in a fight because the other 2 hadn't started paying the kid back who had spent 5,000 on his credit card. And so
Oh
they
my.
got into a fight. Yeah. Maddie says that they learn a lesson at least. Maddie, how many lessons have you learned at a gentleman's club? No, they didn't learn a lesson. They went back and they said, I think she really likes me. And
Yeah.
Tommy,
Okay.
it was bananas. It was
Long they had the
bananas.
$20 bills or $100 bills. She's gonna love you long time, buddy.
You can't say that.
People love the Carlos Herrera wrote, he loves these stories, man. And Coach has a ton of them. Somebody asked, I think user 7279, do I have a Houston story? I can't even, I'd have to really think about it. I mean, we did that loop so many different times. Coach has a memory like it's unbelievable. And he used to stay out a lot later than I did. Let me just put it that way, Coach.
Well, I mean, there was one time. Well, no, I'll save that for another night. I'll say that for another night. I got a
Yeah.
really good Houston story. You guys are really gonna have to pay for this one because it's
Yeah.
really, really good. But I'm gonna save it for tonight. The easiest way to follow me and Tommy, and also Coach and Bro is now on the BTT page as well with me and Vince. Tommy, we got a lot of plans for 2025. This has been an amazing 9 months. Do you want to say anything? This will be our last show in 2024. We're going to start doing interviews again. We have another platform we're going to add a show on, but I've learned my lesson on not announcing it until we actually have it signed. But do you have it in you to work
Yeah.
more than you already are, Tommy?
Absolutely. And just on the out here, I want to thank you, Coach, for bringing my life back into this whole world again. I mean, when I lost my job with WWE, folks, it was a devastating thing, even though it happened in 2020. And Coach tells you this all the time. We dedicated our life to this company. And when it comes to a blow that you lose your job and they don't need you anymore, it really messes with your head. It messed with me for a very, very long time. And me and Coach always kept in contact because we've been great buddies for years. And when he hit me up back in February, he said, I'm thinking of doing a wrestling podcast. And I know how much Coach was against the business, but he decided to change and say, let's try to do something. And I thought to produce it. I'm like, yeah, I can help you produce it. He goes, no, I want you to be the on-air talent. I'm like, I have a face for radio, first of all. Okay. But my knowledge doesn't go away. My life has changed so much in this past 8 months. I look forward to this every Monday night. And now that I'm on driving the line, also I'm trying to get better at that and the betting and the whole aspect of it. But I want to be an entertainer. I want to entertain people at the same time that we're doing stuff. And by the way, this show right here, we speak nothing but the truth. We have a ton of stories. We got a lot of great stuff coming up in 2025. Coach, personally, I want to thank you, brother. I love you. And I thank everybody that comes in on this chat every week and checks us out. And that's not easy to do every week. I love it. And I love you guys. And thank you very much.
Well, you are certainly there. There wasn't even an option for me. It was going to be you, or we were not going to do it. And you've been amazing, just like I told you would be. Just like I told you that we would be. But I've also learned that when you start a brand, it takes a long time for it to really build to where we want it to go. We're going to be here for a really, really long time.
Mhm.
And all of you that come and say all the nice things in the chat, you just rev us up. You just get us going. And we want to be the place where people come and say, you know what? Uh, they don't have any hate in their heart. They just tell it like it is, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And they're also really, really good friends. Because I'm at a point, Tommy, in my life, I've got a lot of things going on, but I only want to do it with friends, and I
Yep.
consider people in the chat friends. And
Yep.
you've been one of my best friends for literally since 1999, and
Yep.
that will never change. So,
Nope.
thank you to everybody for tuning in. Subscribe to our channel, and you'll be able to see everything as soon as we have it done.
The winner.
We
Here's
got a
the
winner.
winner.
Oh, we got to announce a winner. All right. So you need to reach out. Producer man said, what's he says, the giveaway. All right. So the winner reach out to the giveaway. It'll tell us who the winner is. Tell them to reach out to. All right. So whoever the winner is, reach out. producer at behindtheturnbuckle.net.
Boy, got effects and everything. Woo!
What the hell is that? All right, reach out. Producer man will handle it. And we do need to thank him too, Tommy. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh my God. Are you
producer man
kidding?
hates being on. He's never been on camera.
Nope.
Ever been on camera. But I'm telling you right now that by the grace
Amazing.
of God, when I left CBS and we decided to start these brands, and now I'm taking on a bigger role with the PFL, you're going to see that. That's going to be announced next week, PGA Tour. But producer man is,
The
I
best.
think, the most important person at our brand.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
Yep.
And we couldn't, I mean, you and I don't know how to do this damn stuff.
Nope.
So he's amazing. So you guys
Yep.
should understand how much work producer man does in addition to his main job that he actually
Yes.
makes money at. So
Yes.
we love him too. And also can't forget about intern Dan. Intern Dan doing the hard work behind the scenes as well. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for us. Do not forget, we've got an episode we're going to be talking about this week. It's only 10 or 12 minutes, never longer than that. Does the women's division, is it being overlooked now that Becky Lynch is coming back and Charlotte will coming back right after her? You want to tune in to that. And also the War Room, if you're a premium member, it's only, I think, $5.99 a month. We do a separate show for you. Drops every Friday. It's the War Room. Me and Tommy go toe-to-toe. You can get that as well. And also the live Q&As are coming back. The watch-alongs are coming back. We're going to do all of it. That'll do it for now. For Big Tommy C, producer man, intern Dan, I'm the coach. This has been The Last Word, part of Behind the Turnbuckle. Take care.